This is a map of the Calexico area. To the west is the Yuha Desert, and to the east there's the Imperial Desert. About 13 miles of 30-foot high bollard fence has been constructed or is in the process of being constructed. I have made a solid green line approximately where fence has already been constructed, and the dotted line means construction is in progress. The new fence should meet up with bollard fence on both sides of the city. It seems this 13-mile stretch is about 35 to 40% complete. New fence is also being built in the Yuha Desert, and there are 41 miles of existing bollard fence to the east in the Imperial Desert. In this video, when I talk about the point of entry or border crossing, I'm referring to what the Border Patrol calls the west point of entry in downtown Calexico. This is on the eastern side of that green line in the previous map, where the old 10-foot high landing mat fence meets up with existing 15-foot high bollard fence. This point is about 4 miles east of the border crossing. Before they started building new fence, the old fence was about half landing mat and half steel picket fence up to this point. The bollard fence on the right, running towards the east, was constructed during the Bush administration over 10 years ago, as was mandated by the Secure Fence Act of 2006. The old landing mat fence was put up starting in the 1990s. There are 41 miles of this bollard fence, which stops just short of the Colorado River. This existing bollard fence will probably be left as is. Maybe they will build secondary fence behind it if and where it's needed. These are some scenes of the current construction on December 4th, 2019. The video was made on both sides of the border. Border fence tourism on the Mexican side is not necessarily recommended because the smugglers consider the area their territory and may not like it. A little less than a mile farther west, that section of the new fence stops and the old steel picket fence starts, running the rest of the way to the port of entry. There were signs of crossing here. The concertina wire was cut in places, and you can see a stick was left on the fence used to push the wire out of the way. I didn't see it, but the day I was there, a 16-year-old boy used a rope ladder to climb over the 30-foot fence and was caught by the Border Patrol. When there are much easier places to cross on either side of that 30-foot segment, like in this place, I would think it was just a stunt to convince supporters of border security that the new fence is not effective. Of course, they can find a few people who can climb over, probably paid to do it, but there will be relatively few such people. This is just to the east of the port of entry. On the left, there's a very short new section of 30-foot bollard that was built last June. On the right, it looks like the old Bush bollard fence from over 10 years ago. It was overcast and rainy when I was there in early December, but some of the photos are from earlier. This was made last July, but things have not changed here. This is part of the 2¼ miles of 30-foot fence that was built in 2017 just to the west of the point of entry. It runs behind the Calexico outlet stores. It was painted black because some disgruntled locals complained that the rust color was ugly. The concertina wire is put on the north side, not exactly on the top, to make it more difficult to cut off. You have to remember that I'm switching back and forth between the Mexican and U.S. sides. This is the U.S. side. At the end of the pan, you can see the outlet stores to the west. So 2 miles more to the west, the 30-foot bollard fence stops and the 12-foot steel picket fence starts up again for a few more miles. This is another segment of the new 30-foot fence that starts again a little farther to the west. I'm not sure why they build in short segments like this, but they probably have their reasons. There's an irrigation canal mostly right next to the fence that runs all the way from the Colorado River to just a few miles west of Calexico. It deviates from the fence near the sand dunes in the Imperial Desert to follow the highway and also goes around the small city of Calexico. It serves as a kind of secondary barrier, which is good to have, though quite a few illegal crossers reportedly drown in the canal. This is the same place, just looking toward Mount Signal to the west, a local landmark on the Mexican side. This 12-foot steel picket fence runs all the way almost to the foot of Mount Signal. My understanding is that this current fence building in Calexico will extend to about the foot of Mount Signal and join up with the fence also being built in the Utah Desert. Now we are where the 12-foot steel picket fence turns into a vehicle barrier. Right here is a place that busloads of fake asylum seekers would be dropped off to cross. Anyone can climb over this barrier, and it doesn't even stop vehicles. The sections can be cut apart and pushed out of the way. A similar barrier used to extend for about 15 miles all the way to the Jocumba Wilderness before the new fence building started. What Trump is really doing is fulfilling the requirements of the Secure Fence Act enacted in 2006. It was recommended by the 9/11 Commission for National Security reasons, but was never completed. There are thousands of Muslims and others with suspicious travel backgrounds that cross every year. Bush started it, and you can see that in the old bollard fence seen earlier in this video, but he had only 2 years left in office. It seems that during the Obama years, not too much good border fence was built. Go figure.